There's a lot of conversation surrounding Russell Westbrook this morning, with plenty of different narratives making the rounds. For the most part, though, fans are showing him respect and giving him his flowers as he closes this chapter of his career. Austin Rivers has also shared plenty of thoughts on the situation, and we'll get into his reaction in just a moment. Of course, some fans weren't happy to see LeBron James enter the comments because they believe Westbrook's time with the Lakers was when the public perception of him really started going downhill. But rewind to Houston, and you'll remember Skip Bayless was already taking shots at him, even calling him Russell Westbrook. Westbrook then went to Washington, had a strong season next to Bradley Beal, and eventually arrived in Los Angeles, where the story around him really began to change. He eventually moved into a bench role, bouncing between the starting lineup and second unit depending on the situation. After that came his run with the Clippers, followed by a final chapter alongside Nikola Jokic in Sacramento. And now his playing career has officially reached its conclusion. But I don't want to spend too much time on the LeBron debate because plenty of people are already covering that. What really caught my attention was Skip Bayless. As a journalist and commentator, the way he continued going after Westbrook on the exact day of his retirement was hard to ignore. Last night's video went especially far, and I'm not even going to play it here, but the message was clear. Skip was still taking shots at Russ when he should have been acknowledging the moment. That's ultimately what Austin Rivers decided to address. So let's hear exactly what he had to say.
Get this off my chest, right? I feel like it's my job. The game needs me just to provide a little bit of light, a little bit of positivity in this negative verse we call sports coverage, right? My dog, Russell Westbrook, just retired, right? First ballot Hall of Famer. First off, shout out to you, man. Congrats on your retirement. And just an unbelievable player and even a better person, right? And I'm seeing everybody give him his flowers now. And I'm like, where that been at? Because y'all been talking crazy about him for years, belittling him, diminishing his ability and his greatness. And y'all don't just do it with Russell. Y'all do it with James Harden. You do it with Kevin Durant because he switched teams. LeBron James can never do enough. Y'all used to do it with Barkley Malone because they didn't win. The list goes on of guys, right? It goes on. And I ask, how do we create a positive sports culture for our athletes? It's not just basketball players, it's all athletes. Because social media is a superpower. Anybody just has the ability to just get on their phone and type something directly to you with zero accountability. And it creates this negative force around our athletes. Like, man, they're great with all the hate. Could you imagine how much greater these guys would be with more positivity around them? Sure, we need a little bit of hate for the chip on our shoulder, but damn. Like, man, and I'm not saying we can't be critiqued. I'm not saying we can't be ridiculed. Listen, to a certain degree, we're professional athletes. We get paid millions. It's part of the job. I get it. But whoa, it's constant. It's negative. It's all the time. And then we got to wait till something negative happens, till somebody retires, or God forbid, something horrible happens to give them their flowers. Give them their flowers now. You're late. You're late. You know, it's funny. I'm walking the other day down the street. This lady asked me for a picture, and she ends up saying, "Oh, I grew up in Houston, and we used to watch that team you were on, and all you guys had great teams back then. Da 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 da. We were season ticket holders. Blah 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 blah. But we're not fans of James Harden. He never brought us a ring." And I remember laughing it off and walking to my car, getting in the car, and being like, "Whoa, like damn, the gall, the audacity, the entitlement of this woman." But she stands for fans, right? You belittle. As if James wasn't an MVP, like he didn't have the whole city lit. The whole city turned up. We were contending, and no, we didn't win, but so much goes into winning. A great front office, a great ownership, great teammates, timing, luck, good health. This dude was bad. Scoring champ, like I said, MVP. He was so bad, he had guys guarding behind him. Ricky Rubio was behind him looking like me at prom dancing on something. Y'all gonna do this with Devin in Phoenix? You gonna do this with Donovan in Cleveland? The answer should be no, because these guys still pass the torch. These guys still put in work. They still shed blood, sweat, and tears for their city, man. There's so many greats. Winning is not everything. The ring culture is exhausting. I gotta make a different video about that. Just give flowers, man. Be more positive to guys.
So there are a lot of different ways to approach this conversation, but I want to stay focused on the journalism side and leave the fans out of it. When someone like Skip speaks on the exact day Russell Westbrook retires, you could argue that at least he stayed consistent with his opinion instead of suddenly pretending to love Russ. But at the same time, you could also look at it as clout chasing, especially because that kind of behavior has become part of Skip's formula. He keeps going back to the same talking points, whether it's clutch gene or whatever the latest angle happens to be. And when you actually ask him to explain some of those labels, there often isn't much behind them. And I don't think you can simply frame this as something he has done to one particular player. Remember the situation involving Troy Aikman years ago when Coach Prime, back when he was still known as Deion Primetime Sanders, called Skip out on live television. Skip had written in his book that Aikman was homosexual, seemingly making the claim out of nowhere and putting him in a completely different light. That shock jock style of journalism has followed Skip for years, and now we're seeing similar tactics surrounding players like LeBron James and Russell Westbrook. That's why I wanted to focus on Skip here, because eventually you have to ask when the commentary crosses the line from covering sports into simply creating controversy. Of course, there's another side to it. When fans get angry at Skip and flood his platforms with criticism, that still creates views, clicks, and engagement. In other words, the people trying to shut him down may actually be helping keep his name relevant. And that's what these networks and media companies ultimately track. They want attention, they want people watching, they want engagement. But those narratives can still have real consequences for athletes. Calling Westbrook Russell Westbrick or pushing certain negative storylines might seem harmless to some people, but repeated narratives can eventually stick to a player's public image. In today's social media environment, that attention can influence a brand and potentially affect someone's earning power. It's not about pretending players haven't made millions already. It's about understanding that nobody wants an outside voice constantly damaging their family name, reputation, or legacy. If someone's reputation is going to change, let their own actions determine that. At the same time, we have to admit that media attention isn't always harmful. Players can benefit from it too. Look at Damian Lillard and his inclusion on the NBA's top 75 list. I'm not saying Dame wasn't an exceptional player, because he absolutely was, but timing matters. When a list is created during your era, current players can sometimes benefit from the momentum surrounding them. Give it another 100 years and you'll probably see the same thing happen again. That's the bigger point. Media coverage can work both ways. I understand why players complain about the non-stop news cycle, especially with social media making everything 24/7. But that same system can also create opportunities for players, because there are now countless people ready to defend them when criticism gets excessive. Rich Paul once pointed out that Michael Jordan never dealt with a 24-hour media cycle. That's true in one sense, but Jordan also didn't have millions of people online immediately defending him whenever negative stories surfaced, including the old allegations surrounding gambling and his father. So there are always two sides to this. Media attention can help you, hurt you, or do both at the same time, depending on how it's used. And that brings us back to Austin Rivers' point about giving people their flowers while they can still appreciate them. Russell Westbrook can still smell those flowers, but I understand the argument for recognizing players while they're actually competing, instead of waiting until retirement. So what do you think? When a journalist has spent years criticizing someone like Russ, would you rather see them finally show love when his career ends, or would you rather they stay consistent with their position like Skip did? Let me know in the comments, and don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Until next time, peace.